Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be showing you how I transform this beautiful head of locks into a flat lace wig application. If you want to see how I achieve this, please keep watching. G-O-O-O-D! G-O-O-O-D! Good. So every install should start with a solid foundation. So what I'm doing right now is braiding her hair back into straight cornrows. And because she did have a full head of locks, I did 2 rows of locks at a time. Her initial install with her locks was pretty evenly parted, so doing the 2 rows was pretty easy for me to do. However, every head of locks is different, so you will have to adjust that accordingly to the size and the parting of the person locks, but this is what worked for her head. So normally when I'm doing a sew-in or a wig install, when I'm doing the braids, I normally would braid the end of one braid into the ending of another. However, because this is locks and the endings are going to be a lot thicker because they are single plaits, I am actually going to sew up the ends of the braids. Of the lock braids, I should say. So that's why you see me just braiding it down to the end and using a butterfly clip to hold it in place until I'm ready to sew up those ends. Okay, so what I'm doing right now is taking the end of that plait, folding it upwards, and then I'm going to sew the second braid to the first braid, covering over that loose end. And just by doing that, we're going to create a flatter foundation at the bottom. Like I said before, this is not a regular head of hair where you could have flatter braids. It's locks, so it's bulkier. So you want to do this just so you get a more seamless foundation. I also want to add that when you're sewing the locks together, you want to make sure that you're going under and around the locks and not through them, because you want to be very careful that you're not causing any real harm to the integrity of your client's locks. So make sure that you're going under and around the locks and not going directly through them. So what I'm doing right now is just moisturizing her scalp with the Wild Growth Hair Oil, ensuring that her hair and scalp is protected under this install. So what I'm doing right now is using a fine teeth comb and Pump It Up spritz just to push her edges back in place. For this step, I would normally use the Bowl Hole Free Spray, but I ran out of it, so Pump It Up did the job. Using a stocking cap close to her skin complexion, I am spraying that Pump It Up around her hairline and then blow drying it on warm air. Once it's dry enough, I'm going to come back and cut holes in her ears. And I do this step after just so that the sideburns has adequate time to dry. And then I'm going to go back over with the Pump It Up spritz and then dry it again until it's completely dry and ready to cut. So once everything is completely dry, we're gonna cut away the excess parts that aren't dry, and you wanna make sure that you cut it close enough to the hairline, but you don't wanna cut too much. So what I'm doing right now is making sure that the wig fits her head precisely. I'm making sure that the ear tabs are not too long and I don't have to do any extra cutting. And then we're gonna go ahead and lay this wig. So using the Ghost Bond lace glue, I am putting small dots across the perimeter of her hairline, and then I'm using the rat tail end of my edge brush and just flattening out those dots upwards into the edge of the stocking cap. So I'm going to do this on the other side. I'm going to blow dry it on cool and then repeat those steps. Normally I do 3 layers, but today for this video, I only did 2. You also want to make sure that before you apply that second layer, that the first layer turns clear. If you do not wait until it turns clear to apply the second layer, it would be very hard to apply. Your comb will start sticking, it'll start to turn white, and it'll just be super messy when it's time to lay it on the wig. So you always want to make sure before you apply the second layer that it turns clear, and also before you also attach the lace that the glue is completely clear. This indicates that it's ready to go. So now we are going to apply the lace, and for me, I like to apply the middle of the lace first and then do the sides. So I pull the lace down where I want it to stick, and then using my blow dryer on warm air, I am combing the hair backwards and just making sure that the lace is completely adhered to the skin. Then I'm going to go to one side, and I like to have my clients hold the air tabs because it just makes the process a lot easier. And then I'm repeating the same thing, just using a fine teeth comb to kind of make sure that the lace is flush against the skin. Also using the blow dryer on warm air. So once the lace is completely flush against the skin, what I'm doing right now is cutting off the excess lace. Now, I don't like to cut across in a straight line because nobody's hairline is straight across. I kind of do zigzag motions, not too zigzag, but just so it's a little rugged and more realistic. So what I'm doing right now is just wiping off that excess glue. You can see right there at her hairline, we do have some excess glue. So I'm just taking a cotton pad with alcohol and we're gonna get that off. So right now what I'm doing is separating a thin layer of hair. This is the hair that I'm going to use to create her baby hairs, but before I sculpt those baby hairs, I am doing this so I can mold the rest of her hair in the same direction. So what I'm doing right now is applying some of the Nairobi setting foam spray just to mold the hair that I separated from her baby hairs in the right direction. And then to ensure that it is completely flush before I sculpt those baby hairs, I am going to use a small piece of waxing paper to tie down her hair before I start to sculpt the baby hair. Using a eyebrow razor, I am trimming down those long pieces of hair to very, very, very short pieces of hair. You don't want your baby hairs to be adult hairs, so you want to make sure that you trim it down short enough. Now, I prefer to use a razor over a scissors because I feel like a razor just gives it a more realistic finish, where a scissors would have it looking super choppy. Can we just take a second to appreciate that lace though? That lace is melted, honey. Bust down, Meltiana. So using my edge brush that I got from the beauty supply store, I am using the brush side just to kind of carve out those edges. And I did go back in with my scissors after it was already razored to cut off any excess ends. When I'm carving out the baby hairs, I do not use anything except the Nairobi setting foam because I just feel like if you use edge control or bowl hole, it makes it like super hard and crunchy, and it's baby hairs. You want it to look realistic. The Nairobi setting foam is gonna do that for you because it's gonna dry, and then when you're able to comb it out, it looks super natural and realistic. So just to hold those edges in place while they dry, I am using a piece of black waxing paper just to make sure that the baby hairs don't move. Now to make that part more realistic, I am going in with a shade close to the complexion of her skin just to define that part a little bit more and make it look more natural. Hi guys, so this is the end product. I did forget to take a picture because guys, I was so tired. But if you did enjoy this video, please leave me a thumbs up or show some love in the comments below. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. It's your girl So Sharifa. See you in the next video.
Good.